You are looking at Game of the Year. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater reviews are in, over 100, and I read all of them. I'm ready to give you a big breakdown on what to expect with this game. First and foremost, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. This is informative and you want more. So let's get into it. Metal Gear Explained here, and I'm so excited. Really got to watch tons of footage, and I got my hands on some 4K 60 FPS. This video is going to be 1080, but you can go watch my 4K stuff. I'll be uploading channel. Now, I want to kind of go through what this game is before we go forward. And I also want to say there's no spoilers. So if you're new and you're wondering what the game is and you're here just to get the information, we got you covered. You're going to be watching the first hour of the game or first couple minutes. And I'll basically not talk about the story too heavily, mostly cover the review. We're going to start off with the technical aspect. From what has been played and what has been said, this game is trying to target 60 FPS, and it does so on multiple platforms. Most tested on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro, plus PC. This will be where I get my information from and all the extra details. So the game will fluctuate around 50 FPS during actions and sequences, things like that. You play it on performance mode, but if you're on quality, you're going to get 30 FPS, but you're going to get the 4K. So this is a choice. You have that in the options for whichever console you play, performance or quality. You see that it felt good for the most part with the same exact setups as far as consoles go. Of course, we see depending on what system you have, it would be very different. Remember, a lot of these reviews are done with high-end PCs. So, leave a comment if there's your experience differs and you have a lower end version. That in mind, I want to kind of go into some of the performance, and I'm not really one of the guys who focused on this the full time, but after reading some of the articles and going through videos talking about it, I just want to say, for people on the base PlayStation 5, it performs very well. The game basically doesn't have to do extra, so it can hit the 60 frames more often and have quality images. Of course, if you really want all the extra elements, go higher. And if you have a Pro, and get best of both worlds, because they basically said with the Pro, you can get the 60 FPS with the high quality at the same time, which is a cool feature. That'd be great. But other than that, that's all I got for performance. I do not want to stick to that. I want to get into the meat and bones of the video. I am so excited to say this will end up being Game of the Year candidate. I know for me, if you're watching this, it is a Game of the Year, but this is what has been said. It's gotten a lot of hundreds and 90s overall. This is from Metacritic with 60 plus critics who currently posted on there. There are others who are not featured on there, but with their information, I want to kind of go through some of the positives and the negatives, everything that was being said about it. And one of the biggest things overall is that this is a one-to-one remake. They stayed true to the original while enhancing it with modern upgrades and stunning visuals. This has been said by pretty much everybody, even those who criticize it. And I don't look at this as a negative. Some people use that as a negative in their reviews, and that's why they gave the game a bad score, trying to say there's nothing original. When it's a remake, not supposed to be original. Of course, if you're like me, you would love some creative and new things within there. But I actually respect and appreciate that they wanted to respect and appreciate Hideo Kojima. And so everything, and this is something that I was worried about, everything is like the original. Pretty much all the small details that we know and love are exactly the way they meant to be. And for me, I love that. I was worried that we will miss out on small details. For example, you just saw the beehive get shot down and an enemy run away. That is a feature in this game that is very casual, but it's hilarious and it's cool. And so they're bringing back things that are very vital and necessary, respecting the game. So if you've already played this, this is the definitive edition play. That's the biggest takeaway that I got after reading so many articles and about 5-6 hours just reading all of this, just to get you guys this bigger breakdown, overall recap. And the truth is, it's so identical that somebody and some people have criticized it's too identical. They didn't do anything original. And I totally understand we want more. I'll get into the things that we can expect that are more and bigger and better with this game in it. But I do think the respect for Hideo Kojima's work is very important. One of the biggest criticisms is that it does feel like it's the original, just enhanced. And loading into a different section feels kind of like an old-fashioned mechanic. And then other people hoping and wishing that it was an open world game. And I've said this before myself. There's videos of me saying it. So if you want to go fact check and look at how ridiculous I am, because I'm going to contradict that and say I actually accept and appreciate that they're keeping true to the actual original creation. So now, with that in mind, they also said things like, oh, the limited enemies and areas. And I think this is not a fair criticism, because you want to have enemy placements like the patrols that you're watching now, so that people can figure out ways to use stealth mechanics and evade them or take them head on. This is not some run and gun game where you're just going to pack the area with 100 enemies and turn it into a zombie game or something. This is very tactical, stealthy, purposely designed mechanics. So for me, a lot of those criticisms that gave the game bad grades not make sense. And that's where, it's a contradiction. Maybe you're in the comments saying the same thing. Why did they just remake everything the same? It's a blessing. From now on, I get my hands on it and experience this. Most likely this will be the definitive edition that I'll end up playing. And if I introduce anybody to the game, say, hey, try out this Delta version. This is the updated version. So that is one of the biggest things. I don't want to kind of spoil any boss fights or anything, but there's one specific boss fight in the game that you can take out a boss after a cutscene and never have to fight them within the game. That is the only spoiler I'll say, but that is still in the game. Small, little silly things that were added for hardcore fans that will have a good laugh. They go experiment with all of the very cool features. So for me, this is important, and we have to appreciate that. Now, I want to take a moment and talk about the mechanics and another conversation. So, again, a negative that people will say is it felt too easy. The new modern controls made the game too easy for me. And the truth is, you can play on the original. That's my counter to the argument. You can play on the original mechanics and make it as difficult as you want it. Or you can play the way you're watching footage which is the free roam modern day controls. And if it's too hard, too easy on normal, you might want to turn it up because there's about 5 different difficulties that you put the game into. That's the freedom of choice. So that criticism and also giving it a bad grade saying made it too easy now doesn't feel authentic. Doesn't feel like if they're really respecting and appreciating the dedication to modernize. And so for those that are watching, it feels too easy and you're one of those guys, well, play it on European Extreme and then show me how easy it is by sending me a link to your playthrough. And we'll see. But with that in mind, those are the absolute negatives in the game. Those are what people talked about. So to point all that out and give people exactly what has been said, just the general breakdown. Now, I do want to kind of go deeper into a couple of impressions and key things that'll help you make a decision if you're new to the series. There's no need to watch anybody's footage about the story in the modern time. This is the original story. It's staying true. So if you watched somebody say, hey, this is a great story, this is very impactful and beautiful, I would prefer you to just listen to people who played this 20 years ago, because that's the authentic impressions. I look at the reviewers now and I see they're trying to nitpick and say this story is outdated and these theatrical speeches and dramatic, boss fights and scenarios are unbelievable. They're not realistic. And it's like, it's a video game, first of all. Secondly, it's actually one of the greatest stories you ever will see, modern history and in the past. They really touch on history of society while giving you a very personal, direct character development story. So for me, I recommend, going into it blind. Don't watch any review. If you're watching me now, you're probably going to spoil yourself like, hey, this is what people are saying, and think about, is the game too easy? You can easily just turn the difficulty up. You can easily get deep into a creative story. Yes, the bosses have special powers. This isn't a superhero game, but they're definitely outrageous, and that's a part of the fun. Metal Gear provides military realism while providing surreal enemies, bosses, and stuff that makes it fun. And so overall, the game feels great. Now, I want to take a moment and discuss a couple of things that I think maybe people haven't really talked to you about, which is the extra modes. Not going to get too deep into it, but you have 2 quick, easy game modes where you're able to play Snake versus Monkeys or Snake versus Bomber. This is just kind of casual challenges that are pretty fun and interesting. And they have a multiplayer that I have a video coming up for, by the way. A lot of new information about the multiplayer and what it's providing. So hopefully you can check that out as well. But basically, the game has extra content. 2025, you're going to get an amazing story. Then you're getting a multiplayer plus a bunch of other challenges. There are a lot of little things for the returning fans that are watching this, wondering what is in it for me. Outside of just experience a game at such a high level and always having this version of the game rather than the old one only, I think it's amazing because there are little things that you can find, little collectibles and other elements within the game that are add-ons. So go ahead and hunt them. Of course, this is a spoiler-free review. I did want to get into the conversation. So hopefully you guys appreciate this and see that it's your time to check this out. 2025, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is looking like the game of the year. Hope you guys enjoy this. I have big deep dives I'm going to be doing for the next days, breaking down the Metal Gear series. It'll be popping up on screen right now. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. You rock with me and want more. See y'all later. Peace.